Hey everyone, it's Kaido here, and it's pretty clear that recently, Deepwoken has basically entered the Dark Ages. For the past 3 weeks, Deepwoken has been going on a downward spiral. The player count has been pretty low, and I've made several videos on what the specific issues are with the game, but in this video, I'm going to be covering the changes that would instantly save the game. Now obviously, I'm not going to say anything about releasing Conquest or any other large content updates. These changes would be super easy to do in a week or two and would instantly bump up the player count. And one of these changes would potentially even make the player count explode. But first up, let's start with something super simple. So first off, I want to cover reverting/adjusting the tempo ether changes. These changes were made specifically to nerf mages, but sadly it completely missed the mark. Since mage builds have ways around the ether problem, while normal builds, well, just rely on normal ether regen. So while trying to nerf mages, they gutted normal builds and buffed mages, and that is a serious problem, people. And you think a change like this, buffing Deepwoken's most infamous problem, mage builds, would instantly get reverted maybe in the following week or even in a hotfix, but no, this change has not been touched for 3 weeks now. It hasn't been adjusted, reverted, or anything, and I know I'm not going crazy because even testers I've spoken to also agree that this change was not the right one to make. For the 3 weeks it hasn't been touched, it's been making the player count go down because literally only 3 builds are usable right now, and that's Flame Mages, Salt Chemist, and Silent Heart builds, because these builds just don't need ether to function, while 90% of the normal builds need ether to function. You can see why most players wouldn't want to play the game when their build got gutted from a change like this. And what's really crazy about this whole situation is that all they have to do to fix this issue is legit turn a 0 into a 0.5. It really is as simple as that. Mage builds on an anti-parry playstyle will still be an issue for the game, but instead of gutting everyone across the board, they can nerf the specific ways that those builds have infinite ether. For example, nerfing Hungry Flames or ether potions. And believe it or not, reverting the thing that made most players' builds unplayable in ganks would make people want to play the game again. Anyways, moving on, this next change would actually revive ganking, and this one is actually likely to happen. In my last few Yap videos, I've always complained about Deepwoken's endgame PvP spot being in Void Heart and how that's a massive issue for the game, specifically it being an origin locked area and the map just not being built for the purpose of endgame ganking, and this change would fix all those issues, and that's by moving Void Heart to an island. And this idea isn't actually mine, this is a solution that Archmage himself came up with, and seeing how these are the same guys that made Diluvian in a day, Ceramide Hollow in a day, and they can easily knock out a map in a couple hours, this change should be super easy to implement in a weekly. Having Void Heart be in an open area would fix so many of the game's fundamental issues and make Deepwoken's main PvP appeal, which is ganking, not as unbearable. Because all I can say is ganking in Void Heart is so incredibly miserable right now. Like bro, fighting a Flame Mage with infinite ether in Void Heart is like fighting Free Ren as she releases her aura. Like the Flame Mansions are the size of the battlefield we're in. How is this fair? My point is, Void Heart being in an actual island is way more fit for purpose and way more in line with the game's themes than it being in some random fuck off area in the sky. Next up is a change that would hopefully fully revive Deepwoken's ganking and bring it back to its glory days, and that's by reviving Primadon ganking. Ganking at Primadon is like biting that middle piece of toast. It's all crisp but no edges. It's damn near perfect. It's a nice open area, a lot of room to play around in. You can spawn in the big monkey and gank while people are fighting it. All I can say is that it was truly peak, but it was mainly the best spot for ganking back in the day because it was the best way to get god roll items. But nowadays it's fallen off pretty heavy. The best way to get god rolls is just through relics, and that's mainly what people care about. And the best way to get relics is from doing Enmity, where the whole fight is in its own private area. After Enmity, it would be Diluvian, where the whole thing is in a private lobby. Them being in closed off areas are not the issue per se, but them being the best way to get relics means that people will just go do those rather than overworld bosses, which ultimately takes away from the ganking experience. But I'm not suggesting nerfing Diluvian or Enmity. Instead, that Primadon could drop a lot more relics. Kinda like how pre-nerf Ferryman used to be. If you remember back then, Ferryman used to be cracked with his relic drops, and if Primadon today was like that, people would want to go farm it over Diluvian or Enmity. And the trade-off is that because it is easier to farm relics, you have a higher chance of getting ganked at Primadon, and by making Primadon the main hotspot for easy relics, people will want to go ganking at Primadon so they can take other people's loot and relics. Now you might be a bit confused with that last part because relics aren't droppable, but this is another easy change that would revive the game's PvP. Making relics droppable on death would incentivize ganking, while PvEs would focus less on strict PvE builds, and they will be making more balanced builds where they can fight back in PvP while still being effective in PvE. But to be fair, for the PvEs, I don't think relics should be droppable upon death in the depths. But to back up making relics droppable, the community voted for the game to become more difficult, and making relics droppable upon death does that. It incentivizes ganking. Anyways, with these two changes, the new hotspot for ganking will become Primadon's Island, where you go there to farm relics and do PvP, making hopefully the game a lot more fun again. But I'm not done with Primadon just yet. Another super easy addition will be to add in a corrupted Primadon spawn option. If you feed the campfire a Sinner's Ash or something, it spawns in a corrupted Primadon, which now has insane relic drops and a chance to drop super rare items like Bloodforged Crowns or Whistling Pariats. And all they have to do to make it actually challenging is just to give it 5 times more health and make it do 3 times more damage, so it's an actual threat when you're fighting it. And the crazy part is that this addition would be incredibly easy for them to implement. Like, it can all be done in a singular day because all they're doing is literally changing values and adjusting drop rates, and I promise that this change would be better received by the community than the whole of World events were on release. And I can say that with full confidence because all they're doing is taking a boss that's already beloved by the community and making it even better. Anyways, the suggestions I've been saying in this video as a whole are really easy to add into the game, and it's even better for the devs, as currently they're focusing more on back-end stuff, so they can make these changes in a day or two and then put their focus focus back on the back-end stuff. And just think about it, these changes are not really new content, it's just reworking or recycling shit that's either bad for the game or just needs changing. So the effort to outcome ratio is super good. Honestly, that's my whole take on the Deepwoken situation. It is undeniable that our player count has been dwindling for the past couple weeks, and these are the things I genuinely believe would be saving the game. Honestly, just make me a tester and I'll save the game in no time. Jokes aside, as always, I do hope the right people see this video, and that's about it. Subscribe, buy a membership, and yeah, Kaido out.